So here we're going to launch Lightburn to create a cutout. Go to your start menu and start Lightburn. You'll notice an activation window. You can click through that and cancel on any devices that try to create. Then go to Edit, Settings, and we're going to change your units to inches per second, grid spacing to 1/4 inch, inches here for the import settings. We're going to change our move increments. And we're also going to change the job origin to the lower left. And then you can click OK. Next, we're going to close out of any windows over on the right hand side that aren't needed. Now we're going to go click on the cursor window or tool so we can create some text. Go ahead and type out your name. Here we chose Frank. Then you can simply double click on the font selection to highlight it. Now your arrow keys on the keyboard will select different fonts as you scroll up and down. Pick a font that you like. Some overlap, some don't. If they overlap, the text will automatically be welded together. If they don't, we'll weld it together here. So now what we're going to do is change the size if needed by selecting it, and then we have our width and our height. Here we're going to make this cutout 3 inches by 1 inch tall. And you'll want to select it, and here we change the H spacing, and that's simply going to change the distance between the letters. You'll notice as they come together, they automatically weld and become joined. There at the R and the A, and the N and the K. The F's never going to make it there as it's spaced too far apart, so we'll change that one manually. Just pay attention to the letters themselves, aside from the first character. Once it looks good, we'll go ahead and select it. It'll turn dotted, showing it's selected, and we'll break it apart. Convert to path, as they call it in Lightburn. Now we'll use the keyboard arrows, move it over so it overlaps your R. Hold Shift, select them both, and here hit the weld button on the left, and you'll notice they joined. Now we'll swipe select, or click and drag completely over so we can select all of it. You see the A misses, so we'll swipe select here. Select it all. We'll go up to the group icon and group it. So now we can create our offset contour, which is what we're going to physically cut. You'll want to make sure your direction is outward, which is left, and your corner style is round. Next, it's a matter of changing the offset distance to get a good offset as to how you want this to cut. You'll notice I change it a few times, giving you different offset amounts, or various thicknesses is what you're changing. Now that we've got our contour line created, we simply need to create the loops. So we'll go ahead and grab our draw ellipse. If you click and hold Shift as you drag, you'll create a perfect circle. So here we're holding Shift and dragging, and creates a perfect circle in increments. And we'll make sure it's selected, and then we'll go to our offset tool again there on the left and create an inside offset so we get our actual hoop that we want to cut. Offset tool, and here we want to use inward, which is to the right. We'll leave it at round, and now you see there the circle offset starts to change as we change our distance. I simply chose 0.03 and it seems to look okay, so we'll use that. Now we're going to swipe select, hold Control, and hit C for copy and Control V for paste, and it separates a separate circle for you. And we're going to drag it over to where we think the hoop may end up lying on the far end. Once it's roughly in place, click and drag the other one to its place as well. Once we get them there, we can simply swipe select over both circles so they become selected. And now here, we'll use the align tool and align them both so they're even. Now it's just a matter of moving them left to right. Here we select the outer circle, so we'll click on it. And then we'll also select our inside. The outside of our contour and weld our circles. Here they got welded. So now our rings are one. And this is it as far as the cutout goes. So now, so this imports properly, we need to essentially create a guide for it to import in. So here we're going to just zoom out. A couple of clicks of the zoom out tool. And now what we want to do, because Dr. Engrave knows our table size is 9 by 12, it wants to import at that size. So for this cutout to stay at its proper size, we'll create a rectangle, and we'll make that rectangle 12 inches by 9 inches. So it doesn't change the size of our cutout. It will stay true to that size we've set it at. Here I just adjust it so it's down closer to the origin point in your lower left corner. Now we go File and down to Export. You'll want to make sure you change your save type as a DXF AutoCAD. Simply name it. Save it in a location in which you know where it is. Here we chose the desktop and click Save. It already existed, so it just asked me to replace it. Next, we'll minimize Lightburn and launch Dr. Engrave. We're just going to make this full screen. Here we're going to go File and Import. We'll choose DXF as the file type so it shows our file. We'll look for it, and there it is. We'll click Open. We'll zoom out, and you'll notice that square. That's what stayed 9 by 12. So we want to go ahead and just break this apart. I clicked Convert to Polygon. You can go straight to break apart. It's not needed. Now we simply need to just delete this rectangle, and now we are left with just our cutout. I'm going to zoom in. That way we can group it appropriately for the cutting versus the scribing. We're going to select everything here that we want to cut out. The outside contour along with the inside of the rings and any insides of your letters you're going to want cut out. Here the space between the A and the N and the inside of our A. Once that's all been selected, we can simply right click and go to Combined. That way we've joined it all as one now. And we'll do the same for the inside, essentially what we want to scribe for our design on the inside. You'll select the outsides of any openings or insides to your letter by holding Shift and selecting them, and then right click and combine polygon as well. Now that they're separate groups, we simply can add a fill, if so desired, to the inside. Your pitch may vary. Here I'm just trying to see what looks good so you can freely change it as needed. It'll be based partly on the size of your cutout as to if you want to see more or less of your fill lines. Once that's adjusted, we simply need to set the outside cut line to red so we can have it have the proper settings. Next, we just zoom out and simply lower the cutout into place for cutting down at your origin point there. Now we'll go File, Print, select the DE3. We could check the properties there or simply hit OK and start. We'd first scribe, so your diamond should be loaded first if you were going to scribe.